Hi, welcome back to another episode of Voice Notes from My Bathroom. I'm your host, Amanda, a sustainable productivity strategist and a home educating mum of three. And I help ambitious but overloaded women to streamline the boring and make space for the exciting so they can stop living in catch up mode. Today, I want to talk to you about something that comes up all the time in work because it feels like in my work, it feels like a bit of cruel irony that the people who need systems the most are often the people with the least time to set them up. And now I had planned for these podcast episodes to be like under 10 minutes, and my last two have been much longer. So this one, I'm actually going to make it under 10 minutes. And it fits because what I'm talking about is 5 ways to find time to set up systems in the first place. Because so often we feel like we need a whole weekend, a whole day mapped out to do systems. And sometimes that's really good. Sometimes you can get a lot done in that time. And if you're able to do that, and if that's the way that it works best for you, you have at it. But if not, I've got some ideas, because if you're already stretched, juggling work, kids, home, mental load, care and responsibilities, all of those different things, then the setup phase of setting up systems that are going to help you out can feel completely out of reach. So this episode is for you if you want to find some ways to actually set up your systems in a way that doesn't feel so hard, because traditional productivity advice assumes that we have uninterrupted time and that our problem with setting systems up is that we just don't know how, or that we that we just need to do it. We don't realize the value. And I'm sure for lots of us, we do. But how are you actually meant to do that when at the moment you're working at max capacity? So it does feel like a cruel irony that those of us who need the systems the most are often the ones with the most on our plates. So this is how I'm going to help you out. So tip one is to build systems inside things that you are already doing. So you don't have to build systems as a whole separate project. You can make it part of your daily life and your way of being. And this is what I mean by that, because you they are part of life. It doesn't have to be a whole separate thing. So for example, when I first started recording this podcast, the first time I had to record, I don't know how it died so quick, but the microphone for that I'm using died. It's like a little Bluetooth one. It died, and I was like, now I have to charge it. Like, it's a whole thing. I quickly was like, this isn't working. Let me write out a quick process, right? As to, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that, make sure my phone's charged, do all those things, right? Have a rough outline of the episode, made a quick process. I didn't have to set up a whole separate podcast process. I just did it in that moment. Took 5-10 minutes. So build things within the systems build things within that area that you've already got. So you don't have to start with the blank page. It starts by noticing. So for example, if you keep cooking the same meals, that's something of a meal system already. You just need to externalize it, right? So maybe it's while you're cooking dinner and you're thinking, oh, this is actually a really easy one. And you have notes on your Apple iPhone, whatever, Apple Notes, and you go, okay, these are 5 meals, and you start listing out a few meals and then the ingredients that go in it, right? So that when it comes to you wanting to do meal planning and shopping, you don't have to think, do I have this for that? Do I have all the things I need for lasagna? Let me mentally run through it in my head. You've literally got it there. So that is a way that you can start building systems. So tip one is to build it inside what you're already doing. Your life is showing you where you need those systems, and you don't need to have a whole separate time to set them up. If you're answering the same questions again, if the same morning friction is happening, if you're the same bottlenecks, if the same stress points are happening again and again, that's a process waiting to happen. And the first thing is just noticing it within that real life. Okay, tip two is to use tiny pockets of time. It doesn't have to be a big setup session. So the second thing that keeps people really stuck is waiting for a block of time that doesn't exist. This mythical block of time. So what we keep saying is, I'll do it when I have this free afternoon, or I'll do it when things calm down. But babe, when are things going to calm down? Because things don't really calm down until, now that's not true. You might be like, oh, in January it'll calm down. And if that's the case, come join the Steady Club and do it with us in January. But you might find that moment never happens. That magical time when things calm down, it doesn't happen unless you create systems that do that. And I will be honest, sometimes I think it means, okay, I am going to have to put in a little bit extra effort, stay up a little bit late, wake up a little bit early to do the thing I want to do to make it easier down the line, because productivity requires like getting faster at things, getting on top of things. Productivity sometimes does require more effort up front. But the second tip that you can do to use this is to use tiny pockets of time. So if you really don't have any of those ways that you can use a bigger chunk of time, this is really handy. So instead, we just look for like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, like tack it onto something that you're already doing. So maybe at the end of dinner, before you go clean up, you're like, right, let me just think about the stress points today and make some notes on what I could do. The end of the school run, or maybe it's like while you're waiting for your kids to come out of school and you just think, okay, I'm going to start setting up some things that I want to do. Maybe I'm going to research. Say, for example, a focus area for you is that you really want to start doing a good bedtime routine. You spend a few minutes researching what a good bedtime routine would look like for you, right? You can do things in the moments. Use tiny pockets of time. It doesn't have to be big setup sessions. And what you have to be okay with here is stopping something and then coming back to it later. And the absolute key thing when it comes to stopping something before you finished is to write down exactly where you're at. So I do this all the time. If I have to stop, or if a kid is calling me, or right, I'm a home educator, the kids are with me a lot. If I have to stop, and also who knows when they're going to burst in any minute when I record these, if it's not my work time. For my work time, they often leave me alone. But for, I've totally forgot what I was saying now. Okay, so if you're interrupted and you need to come back to something, the key is to write down exactly where you are. So I was about to XYZ, right? So use tiny pockets of time. Tip 3 is to start with a thing that's already costing you the most energy, because this is where you're going to get the big wins. Now, this is not to be misunderstood as doing the biggest thing, as in like putting in the biggest system. My meal planning system is now really robust. It's in Notion. I have it makes planning really simple, but I didn't start there, right? But I did start at the biggest area that was going to save me time. So I started with start with the thing that's already costing you the most energy. You can still start small in that area, but if that's where it's costing you the most energy, the most time, that's where you can start to actually like make a big difference. Which part of your day is causing you the most stress, draining you, taking the most time? What makes you snap? What makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this? That's where putting in a system is going to pay you back the fastest. And when you see the benefit, it encourages you to keep going. Okay, tip 4 is don't start from zero. Use templates as scaffolding. So, for example, if you are doing something in Notion, say, for example, you want to create a content board for all the content and the fabulous things you want to post about because you've got all your brilliant ideas, have a look for a Trello template, have a look for a Notion template. In the Steady Club, that's one of the reasons why I am providing all the templates that you could want to get going on things so that you don't have to start from scratch. And I've been using templates a lot recently. And I didn't used to do that, if I'm honest, because I was like, oh, I want to set it up exactly my way. You don't have to use it exactly as it comes, but use it as a starting point. Because one of the biggest reasons that it can feel so exhausting to get going is not knowing where to start. You don't have to design everything from scratch, even if something just works for a time and then you adapt it to the way that works better for you, right? So tip 4 is don't start from zero. Templates give your brain something to like hold on to and reduces the decision fatigue. So just get going with the template. And tip 5 is to build the minimum version that helps. So it's so tempting. I know lots of these are similar, but it's so tempting to build something that is actually so over the top or aesthetic or impressive. And if you listen to my last episode, it's about personality, your productivity personality. If you're a dreamer type, you're like, yeah, but I want to make it look pretty. If you're a perfectionist, you might want it looking perfect. And I hear you. And that's okay if you are like, well, I need it to work for my brain, for sure. But what is the smallest version of that you could get going? Before I had a meal planning system that I do now, I had 5 meals written down on a list on my phone and a list of all the things that my middle child was refusing to eat. No, that's not true. I had a list of the things that he did eat. That's where you can start. So build the minimum version that helps you in the first place. And then the mindset shift around this is just that setting up systems can feel like it's slowing you down. Like, oh, I'm never going to have the time to put stuff in to help it make it faster. But that's how you buy back future time and energy. And honestly, what I ask myself all the time is, what is future Mandy? That's how I speak to myself. What is future Amanda going to be glad you did? Right. So it's not a waste of time. So if you do want to like spend a bit of extra time, and I would 100% say, okay, schedule out, ring fence some time for sure. But here's some tips to make it work in a short amount of time too. I hope that was helpful. You don't need just to be more motivated. You don't need to be more consistent. Once you've got systems, it all becomes a little bit easier. If you want more information about the Steady Club, head to unmuddled.co/steady and send me any questions at amanda@unmuddled.co. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.